Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvighnam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavtu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Namaste and good morning for those of you who are in the US and Canada. Good afternoon to those of you who are in India, and good evening to all of you, our participants in Singapore. Now, how do we know that there are people watching from all these places? Because we are getting comments and feedback from them. So please keep your comments and feedback and questions coming from wherever you are, and we will continue to keep on improving with your feedback. We sincerely apologize for any glitches that has happened along the way, but you would notice that things are getting more and more smooth this week. We're now into the 4th day of the first ever Singapore Festival of Hinduism, and about to be educated and entertained by event number 10. Thank you all for being here this evening. Now, for the past 9 months or so, we have not been able to travel anywhere. But this evening, we are going to be taken on a tour of the holiest Hindu temples and places in the world, places that every Hindu should go to, but is unable to do so in his or her lifetime. And playing the role of tour guide is Mr. S. Saravanan, or more popularly known to all of us as Sara. I'm happy that he's not wearing his Man U jersey, as I thought he might, being an ardent Man U fan. I haven't checked his tour itinerary to check whether Old Trafford in Manchester is considered a holy place or not. A few words about Sara. Sara was drawn to Hinduism at a very early age and expressed interest in many religious festivals, even as a teen. He joined the Hindu Center as a volunteer teacher in 2007 and started contributing actively through teaching public courses, being involved in interfaith dialogues, and training volunteers for our prison counseling program called Mitra, and he was also the chair of Hindu Center's Education Committee. Along the journey, please submit any questions you have as comments on the Facebook and YouTube feeds, and I'll make sure that Sarah gets them. So put on your seatbelts tightly, remove your masks, and relax, as the tour will start shortly. By the way, there is a charge for this tour, but we will collect the fees only after your safe return. I'll tell you more about that later. So over to our experienced tour guide, Sarah.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. Prasad?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, let me share my screen and just get ready very quickly. Okay, can you see my opening slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Very clear.
Okay, let's get started. Namaste and welcome everyone on this journey with us on a virtual pilgrimage. As Dr. Prasad introduced, my name is T.G. Sara, tour guide Sara. We are volunteers at Hindu Center and we basically do nearly everything that the center asks us to do. So basically today I'm going to be a tour guide. And since it's the COVID-19 period, so I thought I'll do a tour based on that. So I'm going to call it COVID-5. Right? And this is going to be a limited time tour. I actually went out and thought I'm going to cover a lot of places, but we are really limited by time, so I can't really cover so much. So I've actually condensed it to a couple of temples, but they are still going to be beautiful, and they are still going to be good and powerful temples that I'm going to bring you along. So as I said again, the time is pretty limited, so please pardon me if I speak very fast. So everyone, without further ado, let's pack our bags and start going. But before anything else, right, we always pray to Lord Vinayaka before we depart on any pilgrimage or anything like that. So it's only good that we say our prayers to Lord Vinayaka. So I picked Sri Shanpaga Vinayaka Temple to go to say our prayers before we start our safe passage. And Lord Vinayaka of Shanpaga Vinayaka Temple is well loved by everybody, young and old. So let's say a quick prayer before we depart on our journey. Om Ganapate Namaha. And as per every Hindu tradition, we'll break a coconut before we fly off. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a virtual flight, so please get your own refreshments from your own fridge. Go get your own tair sadam and madai and kachoris, etc. And put on your seatbelts because we are about to take off. We'll actually be heading to India. Actually, I thought I'll bring you all around the world, but as I said, it's limited by time. So we're going to go to India, the home of all temples, or the best temples. Where are we going to go? What's the itinerary? It's going to be a mystery tour. You will find out as and when we reach there. Right? So let's go. Now, our very first stop in India is this temple called Chinnakeshava Temple. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Just look at this amazing temple that you see right in front of you. You're standing at the temple compound together with me. This is really a magnificent temple. And for those of you who are really interested in architecture and precision engineering, this would be an extremely fantastic temple to explore. So where is this temple? It's actually in this place called Belur. Some very quick facts. Belur is actually located in Hassan, and it is, like the map says, it's about a 5-hour drive from Bangalore. And Belur was actually the capital of the Hoysala Empire, who ruled what is currently called Karnataka back in the 10th to 14th century. So the Chinnakeshava temple is not a tourist attraction. It's actually an active temple and a major Vaishnava pilgrimage site. And it's also located on the banks of the Yagachi River. So I've never been to this temple. So my whole theme for this tour, right, is to bring you onto temples where I have been to and have experienced certain things that I'll share with you, and also to bring you together and journey together to temples that I have not been to. So this is the theme that I've selected for today. Right, so this is the courtyard of Chinnakeshava Temple. It's not a very big temple. It's about the courtyard looks big, but it's about 400 by 400 feet. And it has several shrines dedicated to other gods and goddesses as well. But what it lacks in size, it actually makes up for it in its grandeur. I'll take you through and walk around the temple and show you what I mean. So we are right now standing in front of the east entrance, and this is the Garuda Stamba of the temple. It's actually a 22 feet wooden post with brass plating. And in front of it stands Lord Garuda with his hands palms closed, as if to tell Lord Vishnu that he is ever ready to serve him. So the temple has basically 3 entrances, but we're going to go in through the east entrance, which is the grandest of the lot. Right? Let me explain to you what is so special about this. We're actually standing in front of the east entrance of the temple. As you can see, you see 2 Dwarapalakas here, Jaya and Vijaya, which is very, very normal that you will find in any Vishnu temple, right? They are very, very common. But what is uncommon is there's another 2 more figures standing here, separated by the main door. Who are they? They are actually Manmata and Rati. Okay, these are the Puranic celestial beings associated with lust and passion, right? They are like the celestial time version of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, right? So they're actually separated by this door. So what is the temple telling us to do? I guess it's telling us before we enter the temple is to focus ourselves, leave all our passions, all our lusts and every other thing behind, and enter the temple with a one-pointed mind. So I thought that was something very, very nice. But the most special part of this door is actually right on top here, which you can see. This is an ornately carved lintel of Lord Narasimha. And I think this is one of the most, we are actually quite lucky today to be able to witness this. Why? Let me tell you. just look at this carving. There's Garuda here, and on top of him is Lord Narasimha sitting down, and he's actually garlanded all across by the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu. So this is not a metal carving, it is not plaster, it is stone. Just look at those intricate details, you know, the amount of precision that has gone through to carve such a magnificent lintel and to have it right at the doorstep. I thought this was a marvelous thing, and this is one of the best artifacts in the temple. And this temple was actually built by King Vishnuvardhana. He started the construction in year 1113, but only finished it about 103 years later. He didn't finish it. His great-great-grandson, King Veeraballa, actually completed the temple. So I'm very excited to bring you around this temple. So before we enter the temple, I wanted to walk around with you and show a lot more about the temple. So here you can see the temple is actually built on 3 foundations, which you can actually see with the elephants and the lions and all of that. And these foundations, right, is decorated by all these carved figures all around it. The bottommost portion is of the elephant to signify strength. Then you have the lion in the second layer to signify valor. And then on top, the third one is Hoysala warriors riding on horses to denote speed. So I think these are the 3 core characteristics which actually denote the Hoysala warriors of those time. And the interesting thing is, right, all these things surround the temple. They go all around the foundation. And there's about 644 elephants, I've heard. And no 2 elephants are exactly the same. Every one of them is individually carved. Wow, isn't that? And now look at this lady, you know, she's actually standing, it looks like she's standing on a balcony and then looking out. And it looks like a 3D image, right? You can actually see the balcony and you can see the lady looking out. But this is just carved out of one rock. And to produce this kind of images with this kind of angle really, really is to me, is quite a wow thing. More, throughout the temple as we walk around, right, we'll see a lot of carvings which denote mythological happenings and stories. Here we see Lord Narasimha killing Hiranyakashipu. That's a carving in one of the spaces. And then we also have here Arjuna shooting the eye of the fish during an episode in Mahabharata. And here we have Shiva, a sculpture of Shiva in the story where he actually kills the elephant-headed demon, and he actually is carrying the skin of the elephant-headed demon right on top of his head. So these are some of the sculptures, mythological sculptures that we can find around. But this temple is actually known for these ladies, you know, they're actually called mandanikas or dancing nymphs. There are several such sculptures around the temple in different poses, doing different things. But this is a special one which I found out. The thing is, right, if you actually drop a point of water, a little bit of water at point A on top of her fingers, it will actually fall at point B, which is her left breast, and it will hit point C, which is her largest toe. And it's like, it's engineered to precision, you know, when you drop water from A, it hits B, and then it hits C. It's already very difficult to carve all these intricate designs on stone, but they have incorporated precision into it. We all thought that Germans were the masters of precision, but I guess the Indians are too, right? Now, let's move on. This is another carving of the Mandanika ladies. And here you can see she's actually wearing a jewelry and a skirt. If you look at it, again, it's very 3D, and it looks like she's actually wearing something, you know. I wonder how they did it. This is carved out of a single stone, and they made it look like she is really wearing a skirt and she's wearing some jewelry. So again, this is amazing. And look at the amount of detail that has gone into carving the fingernails and the hands. You can actually look and see it looks like a real nail. And all of this is carved out of stone. Now, some of the most wonderful pillars are found inside the temple. So we've stepped into the temple right now. There's about 48 pillars, very huge. And each one of them, if you really look around, it looks very different. So this is one of the main attractions of the Chinnakeshava temple. And I've picked out 3 to just show you very quickly. If you look at the second one, right, this temple is built in such a way that very little light comes into the main area, main sanctum. And yet you see this pillar gleaming, there's one in the center, as if it's made out of metal. It's not made out of metal. It's made out of solid rock. So what technology did they use to make it so shiny? It's amazing. And the pillar on the left, your left, is actually called the Narasimha pillar. It's huge, as you can see, compared to the man who's standing at the bottom. And it has actually, it has holes where you can actually put, it's actually made up of many, many little intricate carvings where you can actually put your fingers in. And back in its heyday, right, it is supposed to be able to spin around. You could actually turn the pillar. So again, this is marvelous engineering. And finally, we are standing right in front of the Garbhagraha of the Chinnakeshava temple. Just look at this beauty. Have you ever seen a Garbhagraha as beautiful as this? I have not, definitely. So the Hoysala artists, right, I think they paid great attention to detail, as you can see. Every limb of the figure, every decorative sign, I think they are preoccupied with precision and intricacy. I think their skill of craftsmanship is unmatchable. So during this trip, wherever possible, I will try and get you a VIP pass to have darshan of the presiding deity. So I will try my best. I can't promise, but here goes. But today I have a pass to for us to visit the presiding deity of this temple, who is Lord Chinnakeshava himself. So as I said earlier, this is an active temple. So this is the actual murti of the temple, Sri Vishnu. So you can say a quick prayer to Lord Narayana and Lord Chinnakeshava. And with that, we can proceed on to our next destination. So what's our next destination? We're actually going to drive down all the way to Kerala. And guess where we're going to go to? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to go to Sabarimala. This is, of course, a very famous pilgrimage site. But unfortunately, it was in the news for all the wrong reasons lately, but doesn't matter. It's still an awesome place to go to. I've never been here before, so I really, really want to go to this place one day, hopefully. But today, I want to bring you along and travel along with you to see what Sabarimala is really all about. So I brought my drone, right? I'm actually flying my drone right now. And this is an aerial view of the temple. The Sabarimala temple complex is actually located in Periyar Tiger Reserve. And the temple is actually situated at a height of about 4,000 meters and is surrounded by beautiful mountains and forests. And the word Sabarimala literally means the hills of Shabari, who is actually a devotee of Lord Ram. And every year, 50 million devotees go to this temple. I think it's the biggest pilgrimage ever. You know, it's legendary. And this temple is actually dedicated to Lord Ayyappa. So who is Lord Ayyappa? He's actually the son of Harihara, the son of Mahavishnu as Mohini and Lord Shiva. Ayyappa has many names. He's called Harihara Sudan, he's called Manikantan, he's called Dharma Shasta, etc. He was actually born with the powers of both Vishnu and Lord Shiva. So he's a very, very powerful person, but he's very calm. And he was actually born to defeat and kill this demoness called Mahishi. Right, so he's actually raised by a childless couple called King Rajashekara Pandyan and Kopiran Devi, and he grew up as a warrior yogi. The whole iconography of Ayyappan, right, if you see, depicts him as a very handsome but celibate god doing yoga, you know, and he's always seen riding a tigress. And Ayyappan, right, as we all know, is known to be a celibate deity, and he's revered for his asceticism and especially his devotion to dharma. That's why he's known as Dharma Sasta. And he sits in this position called Ardhasana, okay, the posture of asceticism. And his knees, right, are actually bound by a cloth called Yoga Patta, and his hands are in Yoga Mudra. So Lord Ayyappa is actually an ascetic. His whole murti with his legs are actually bent, facing upwards. This symbolically shows, right, that the figure has left no room for anyone to sit on his lap. Okay, get my drift? Now, I'm actually going to bring you to Sabarimala in person. I'm not sure how many of you have been to Sabarimala, but right now we are all going to go to Sabarimala. So let's enjoy the show. Let me, for this, I will just turn off my video so that you can enjoy the 360 views of the place, but I'll come back to you and I'll always be there with you. Just give me a minute. Okay, I hope all of you can see. Anyway, I'll just be around. Okay, so right now, where are we? We are at Erumeli. I hope I'm pronouncing all these places correctly. We're actually at this place called Erumeli. The tradition basically says, right, this is the Peruvali Pade, or the long path, right, actually starts at Erumeli, where we are standing right now. This is from here to the 18 steps of Sannidhanam is about 50 kilometers. And it's a really, really tough trek. But today, I think we're going to do it in under 10 minutes. So it is here that Ayyappan actually killed the demoness Mahishi. And if you can see, there are actually devotees walking here and walking there. And if you look here, the devotees are actually celebrating, you know, they are celebrating. This is actually called a festival called Pattathulla. Again, it's actually they are celebrating Lord Ayyappan's killing Mahishi. And so it's actually a symbolic representation of a community rising against adharma or injustice. So here we see Ayyappan actually telling people that unity is the key to social transformation. And here on the right, just opposite actually, is actually a mosque. Okay, this is the Vavar's mosque. Vavar is a very good friend of Ayyappan, and it is a tradition that all the devotees who go to Sabarimala will actually go into the mosque and circumambulate it as a mark of respect. Now, this is Erumeli Kochambalam. This is just a place where the devotees gather, they share information and do stuff together. Okay, so this is called Erumeli Kochambalam. And this again is Vavar Pali, Vavar's mosque, as I told you earlier. This is just opposite the other temple. And as I said, Vavar is actually a great form of Ayyappan. And the Muslims, right, as you can see, the devotees are actually entering the mosque and circumambulating it. And what more, they will actually be shouting, Swami Saranamayappa, Swami Saranamayappa in a mosque. So, and the Muslims, right, they are really cool with it. They don't mind. They, in fact, provide refreshments, they provide food and shelter for these people. So I thought this was a great indication of interfaith tolerance and support. So I thought this was amazing, especially in a place like India. So this is Vavarpalli. Now, this is Yerumeli Sasta Temple. Okay, this is one of the temples along the way. There are two temples in Yerumeli town actually, and we are at one of them, the Dharmasasta Temple. And it's a very ancient temple where Sri Dharmasasta is the presiding deity. And this is also the biggest pilgrim center in the district. So during the Mandala and Makara Vilaka seasons, right, there are thousands and thousands, I say maybe even millions of pilgrims arriving here. As you can see, it's a beautiful, very peaceful looking, very green and open temple. Next, again, please pardon my pronunciation. This is called Puttan Veedu, a very mysterious place. This is actually a centuries-old wooden structure believed to be closely associated with the legend of Swami Ayyappa. The wooden house is believed, right, to still house the sword of Swami Ayyappan, the sword that he used to kill Mahishi. And legend actually has it that Sri Ayyappan arrived at this particular point in the dark, and he had nowhere to go, and he saw a little light coming from this house, and then there was this lady, and she actually took him in, gave him food and gave him shelter, and then he ate and he rested, and this is the spot where he actually killed Mahishi. So as a mark of reverence to the old lady, right, who helped him, he actually gave her a sword, his sword. So it is said that the sword is here till today. So this place is called Puttan Veedu, as you can see here. Now, next, we are going to see the famous Pamba Nadi, the Pamba River, as most of you all know. Washing themselves, some of them cook, and some of them offer oblations to the departed souls. So a dip, this is another view of Pamba. It says a dip in the river, right, actually takes away all your weariness of the forest journey. As you can see, it's a It's a very pretty river, very calm, but don't get too close to the river. This tour is, don't get too close to the river. Don't fall inside. This tour is not insured. But you can say your prayers, take some water, and imagine sprinkling it on yourself. So these are the very first steps of Sabrimala. Okay, pilgrims who go to Sabrimala come to this place and they start climbing from here. So these are the very, very first steps on their way to Sabrimala. As you can see, there's some very intriguing persons looking at us. So we'll move on to the next important point called Nilimala. This is the Pampa Ganapati temple. This is the first temple on the way to Ayyappan Sannidhi. And devotees come here, they pray for safe passage, they do their prayers, they break their coconuts, etc. And there are also sannidhis for other deities as well, for Lord Ram, Hanuman, Parvati, etc. Again, this temple is situated in very calm and very natural surroundings. Now, let's move on to the next place. This is the famous or the infamous Nilimala. Actually, we've skipped quite a bit of our journey and we've come to the last lap of the climb. The abode of Ayyappan, right, is actually right on top of this mountain, and the 18 steps are about 6 kilometers from here. So the climb here in this part of Nilimala is very, very steep, very difficult, and very slippery. You can actually see how steep it is from here, but it's very, very beautiful. Look at the mountains and the greenery here. And so I was wondering, even though the climb is very, very tough here, for devotees, the awareness of being close to their goal, being aware that they're going to see Ayyappan very soon, actually keeps their spirit alive. And I guess the pilgrims start walking and chanting Swami Saranam Ayyappa along this path. So this is Nilimala for all of your information. And now we are actually at Apache Maiden. We have actually climbed the difficult steps of Sabrimala without even climbing. We are actually at Apache Maiden right now. The steep ascent of Nilimala is over. So the onward journey from here, right, is more or less through level ground. So there's like grassy meadows and deep ravines in this whole area. So Kanni Ayyappans, the guys who come to Sabrimala for the first time, right, actually expected to throw sweetened rice balls into these pits to appease evil spirits who are supposed to be hovering around this area. So this whole place is supposed to be a very eerie, mystical area. So you better be careful who you're going to talk to if you ever come here. It could just be a sinister spirit or something, right? So now we are approaching Sabari Peetam. This is an important place along the pilgrimage. It is said to be the place where ascetic Sabari did penance and attained moksha at the hands of Dharma Sastra. So as a mark of respect, right, the devotees who pass by here break coconuts, they burn camphor, some people even sit and do their meditations and prayers at this place. So the distance from Sabari Peetam to the foot of the Padinettam Padi, the 18th step, right, is just a mere 1.6 kilometers away. So we are nearly there. And this is an area called Marakutam. Okay, this is the place where the queue literally starts. So I guess it starts from here and it snakes all the way up to Sabarimala, you know. So, but unfortunately for us, there's absolutely no queue here. I do not know why. Maybe they knew that Hindu Senate people were coming. So that's good news. So let's head on forward. And this is the way to Sabarimala, actually. We are very, very close, and the path in front is very smooth, filled with very large trees. Look around, you can actually take a little slow walk, look at the deep ravines and the ancient trees, etc., etc. Just look at how pretty and green this whole place really is. I really felt that this walk beats walking in botanical gardens anytime. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the highlight, we are at Dharma Sastra temples, okay? We have reached the main sanctum, not the main sanctum, but the temple itself after an arduous climb of maybe 7 minutes. What it would have taken hours and hours or maybe even days is made so much easier through technology, right? So this is the compound of the main temple. Many of you would never have seen this place. Some of us may never even see this place in our lives. Okay, so this is the compound. And Sabarimala Sri Dharma Shastra temple, right, is one of the most ancient mountain shrines. It's surrounded by lush tropical jungles and 18 hills. The shrine itself is about 4,000 feet above sea level. Another unique aspect of this temple is it's not open throughout the year. It's only open during the Makara Vilakku period. Now we come to the most greatest highlight for every devotee of Swami Ayyappan. This is the Padinettam Padi, the fabled 18 steps taking you to Lord Ayyappan. Okay, the steps are covered all in gold. I'm already overwhelmed looking at the steps from here. I wonder how a devotee would feel coming, trekking 50 kilometers and then seeing these steps, right? Well, the belief is that the 18 steps actually signify the 18 ancient deities who used to sit atop each of those 18 hills. So devotees who arrive at the temple with the Irumudi, right, are believed to have traversed all the 14 worlds, as mentioned in our Hindu mythology. As all the 18 steps represent a deity of the hill, you cannot pass the 18 steps if you are not carrying the Irumudi package. Only devotees with the Irumudi are allowed to pass. So I don't see anyone carrying the Irumudi today. And look at these two guys, they're already staring at us, thinking, what are we up to? So we really can't go up the staircase, but not to worry. We can always use technology to get the darshan of Lord Ayyappa very soon. So the 360 tour will end here, but we'll see what we can do to see Lord Ayyappa very short. Just give me a minute. Oops. Okay, next place. Let's get on with the tour. Sorry for the slight technical glitch. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the virtual 360 tour of Sabarimala. I would like to give credits to Lead Photography for that. So very quickly, what does it take to get to Sabarimala? What is the process? Basically, you need to fast for 41 days. You got to keep your mental, your mind and your body very clean. You need to carry what is the Irumudi, all the items that you want to present in front of Ayyappan. You need to take a hike of maybe between 30 to 50 kilometers. So once you reach the main temple zone, right, and then you climb the 18 steps towards the Sannidhana is actually on top of the 18 steps, something hits you. And what is it that hits you is this. Okay, in bold, right, in those big bold letters in Devanagari and Malayalam, I think, it is written, the words are written Tattvam Asi. Okay, which actually means what you seek. You are that you seek. Okay? You are what you seek. Tattvamasi is actually the third of the 4 Mahavakyas, which actually mean, as I said, you are one that you seek. And after all this climbing, right, this is the truth which is supposed to hit every pilgrim who actually comes here. So the hints were actually always there. From the moment Swami puts on the Sabarimala, the mala, he's actually called as Ayyappa Swami. So the hints were always there. Everyone calls him Ayyappa Swami, but it just does not hit him that he's Ayyappa Swami. And probably it may not hit many people, so I think this is the real fact. So the whole pilgrimage and associated rituals, right, amply illustrate the Hindu concepts of the union of Jiva and Paramatma. Okay, this is the underlying principle of Advaita, which says the two are not different, but the same. So I think Sabarimala Yatra beautifully explains this. Now, this is the Ayyappan temple, as you can see, with the golden roof. As I said earlier, I'll try and use technology to get you the darshan of Swami Ayyappan. We can't really go through, but I found a good substitute. So here you are. Here we are. We're going to have a very quick darshan of Lord Ayyappan. So here we go. I hope you enjoyed that darshan of Lord Ayyappan. Let's move on, and before we leave Sabarimala, let's say one more prayer to Lord Ayyappan and thank him for letting us be here today. Now, a right turn from Sabarimala, and we arrive at the famous Nataraja temple of Chidambaram. The Stala Purana, right, of this temple basically mentions that sage Patanjali performed penance in the Thillai mangrove forest for Lord Shiva to come down and actually run a dance in front of him. And today we're going to explore this temple more. So as we walk towards the temple, you can actually see the colorful gopurams. And this temple is actually in Tamil Nadu, about 200 kilometers from Chennai. And the present temple that we see today was actually built in the 10th century. So this makes it one of the oldest surviving temples of South India. The earliest mention of Nataraja as Shiva is found in the 6th to 7th century texts of Upper and Sambandar. And the temple and the deity, as we all know, have been immortalized in Tamil literature of Tevaram, Tiruvasagam, Tirukkovayar, etc. So Lord Shiva is in this temple is actually presented as dancing the Ananda Tandava in the golden hall of Ponnambalam. Right? The interesting thing about Shiva here is he's actually represented as an anthropomorphic murti rather than the classical lingam that we see in all other temples. So Chidambaram is also one of the Panchabhuta Stalas, the temple for space. And the word Chidambaram basically comes from the Tamil word Chitrambalam, which literally means the wisdom atmosphere or consciousness atmosphere. So in this special place, Lord Shiva is actually worshipped in 3 different forms. Arupa, which is actually Akashalinga or the Chidambara Rahasyam, which we will come to. Rupa, Arupa Rupa as Shivalinga, and Rupam as Nataraja. Now, again, I'm flying my drone above the temple, so many of you may not have seen these kind of images, so enjoy it. Chidambaram temple is actually spread across 50 acres. It's a fairly large temple, and it's one of the very rare temples where you have shrines for Shakti worship, Vishnu worship, and Shiva worship. The temple has 9 gopurams, and this is the eastern gopuram. The temple complex itself, right, is in a rectangular format with 5 concentric prakaras, 4 of which is accessible to public, but the innermost one is only accessible to the priests. And this is Shiva Ganga temple. The actual waters of Ganga is supposed to be here. And this is Raja Sabha. This is the magnificent 1,000-pillared hall, which has seen many coronations of great Chola kings. And it also says, tradition says that Sekirar actually recited his Periya Puranam here. And this is Deva Sabha. Deva Sabha is, it's also called Perambalam. Okay, according to some, this is the hall where Shaiva saints or Nayanars usually come and sing their hymns in praise of Lord Shiva. And we are now inside the 3rd Prakara. This is the Sandhi or temple of Shivakama Sundari, who is the consort of Lord Nataraja. And now inside the innermost Prakara, we have the shrines for Vishnu, the shrine for Brahma, and we have the Kanaka Sabha, and the last one is the most important of them all, Chit Sabha or Ponnambalam. So this is the aerial view of the temple. I hope you like it. So I will now walk with you and bring you around the temple very, very quickly. Now, I see some of you already inside the temple. We have just walked in by the east entrance. If you can see, the east entrance is really, really huge. It's made out of granite right on top. So ladies and gentlemen, we are really standing at a place where giants of Sanatana Dharma actually walk past. So I feel it's a really, really amazing journey. As you can see, images of all the four saints, the images of Manika Vasagar is actually at this entrance as we walked in. Now, this is the Nritya Sabha or the Natya Sabha. Let me tell you, this is the location of the world's first Asia's Got Talent competition. Yeah, I'm just kidding, okay? This is the place where one of the most famous Puranic episodes actually took place, the dance competition between Lord Shiva and Kali. This is the place where Lord Shiva did the Urdhava Tandava, where he lifted his leg above his head, and Kali just, calmed down. She either calmed down or she refused to strike that pose. So this scene is actually depicted in this hall. This hall is also called Yedirambalam. It's a very significant place, but sadly, it is not really kept very well, as you can see from the picture. Moving on. Now, we have stepped into the newly renovated hall of goddess Shivakama Sundari. This is her sanctum. This place is about 800 to 1,000 years old, but it has been recently renovated. And if you come to this place, there are a lot of murals, very, very ancient drawings, ancient murals, ancient carvings found at different places of this temple. And if you look up, you can actually see the whole ceiling has been repaired, repainted, and all these paintings actually depict stories about the history of Chidambaram temple. So a very, very pretty and beautiful place, I felt. And I give you the goddess of this temple, Sri Jnana Shakti Shivakama Sundari. Okay, this is her sanctum. And she actually represents Shiva's Jnana Shakti. And she has 4 arms with which she blesses her devotees. Local legend basically says, right, Patanjali actually wrote his Mahabhashya through the grace of Devi Shivakama Sundari. And Adi Shankaracharya also wrote his Kena Upanishad Bhashyam through her grace as well. And she's actually praised in the monumental work of Tirumandiram by Tirumular as well, and several other texts. She's mentioned many times in the works of Tiruvasagam, Devaram, etc. So she's the goddess of knowledge. So let's take a very brief moment to say hello and pray for some jnanam in all our lives. Now we move into towards the inner prakara. These are the fabled walls of Nataraja temple. Great people have walked down this path, and now we are walking down. I can almost imagine myself walking and chanting Om Namah Shivaya as I walk through. Now we are very close to the gates of heaven. This is the entrance to the innermost sanctum of Chidambaram. Okay, in here you will have 3 shrines: the shrine for Brahma, the shrine for Vishnu, and the shrine for Shiva. So let's head to Vishnu's shrine first, Sri Govinda Perumal's Sannidhi. Okay, so we are now inside Govindaraja Perumal temple, which is actually right inside Chidambaram temple. And right in front of us is the Lord Govindaraja Perumal. This temple is glorified in the Divya Prabandha, which is a Tamil canon of the Alvar saints. And the temple is also one of the 108 Divya Desams dedicated to Vishnu. And here in this temple, he's actually worshipped as Govindaraja, and his consort, Lakshmi, is actually called Pundarikavalli. And his temple is also known as Chitra Sabha. And the Lord is actually in Bhogashainam in this temple. So again, there's this VIP darshan for all of you. So you can take a moment to say hello and pay a namaskarams to Lord Vishnu as we go forward. Now we've come to the innermost prakara. Okay, what we see here, ladies and gentlemen, is the golden roof of Chit Sabha, Ponnambalam, and on the right is the copper-roofed Kanaka Sabha. The Kanaka Sabha is actually a place where a lot of rituals take place on a daily level. They take the crystal lingam out from the Chit Sabha, put it in the Kanaka Sabha, and do their prayers on a daily basis. But the most special place in this whole temple is this Ponnambalam, this Chit Sabha, the hall of wisdom or the hall of consciousness. Within this space, right, the divine is actually represented in 3 different aspects. Very quickly, the Chit Sabha is actually made out of wood, but it has a very special roof made out of gold, as you can see. It is actually made out of 21,600 golden petalets shaped like a fish eye. And each one of them, right, has Om Namah Shivaya written on it. And they're actually nailed in with 72,000 golden nails. Awesome. And note the 9 kalasas that's right on top of the Gopuram. Now, we are now at the main sanctum of Chidambaram. This is just a pictorial depiction. Of course, cameras are not allowed into the main sanctum, but this is exactly how it looks at the main sanctum. So here we see Lord Nataraja more in the center, a bit towards the right. On your right is Devi Sivakama Sundari, and on your left is the famous Akashalinga, or the Chidambara Rahasya, with all those golden leaves hanging. I do not know how many of you all have been here, but this is how the main shrine looks like. Since ancient times, right, it is believed that this is the place where Lord Shiva and Shakti actually stay, but they're actually invisible and they cannot be seen with the naked eye. So Chidambara Rahasyam is actually hidden by a curtain. Okay, so during darshan, right, when they are doing special puja, those who have been privileged to be around there, what will happen is during the puja, the priest will actually remove the curtain of the Chidambara Rahasyam, the one that you see on the left, and then he will say, can you all see the Lord? Now I've opened the curtain. Can you see the Lord? Can you see the Lord? I'm going to close the curtain. And the whole crowd will be like, Inge, where? I can't see. You, Appa, Amma, all will be all over the place and, you know, jostling to see. By the end of the day, I think most of them would just be scratching their head and wondering, where is this Lord Shiva inside that space? So it is in this place at that time, I had a very special experience, which I want to share with you, right? So this is how the actual sanctum will look like. Actually, a lot of people will be standing at the base, and if you pay a little bit extra money or something like that, you can actually go on top of the steps to another platform where you can directly look into the sanctum through squarish blocks, you know, called wooden lattice. So this is how it looks. So you go there and then you look at the Lord through this. So when the whole Chidambara puja was going on, right, I just happened to be there at that time. The Swami pulled the curtain aside and say, can you see the Swami? Can you see the Swami? I'm going to close the curtain. I was like, where is Shiva? I can't see. I can just see all dark and it's all black inside. You know, and I was scratching my head. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, there's this one chap who came and tapped me on my shoulder and he started explaining things to me. So let me read what he basically said to me. He said, this temple, right, the whole Chit Sabha has 5 pillars and they denote the 5 senses. And the whole roof of the Sabha, which you saw earlier, has 9 kalasas depicting the 9 dwaras, you know, the gateways of the human body, our 2 eyes, our nostril, our ears, rectum, etc. And the roof has 22,600 tiles, as I told you earlier. These basically denote the average amount of breath a person actually takes in a day. And the roof is actually nailed by 72,000 golden nails, right? The nails actually represent the nadis, which bring the prana throughout the body. And just as our human heart is towards the side and not the center, Nataraja also in the sanctum is tilted towards the side, okay, in the Ponnambalam. And all of this, the whole Chit Sabha is actually enclosed in 5 prakaras, as I shared with you earlier. And these denote the 5 panchakoshas. Right, so the Lord is actually sitting in the innermost prakara, which denotes the Anandamaya Kosha, for those who are familiar with these terms. So the entire temple is actually a depiction of the whole human body. But at that time when he was telling me all of this, I was wondering, why is this guy telling me all of this? I'm trying to see where is Lord Shiva. Then he told me something, you know, which just gave me a wow moment. He said, you can't see the Lord with your naked eye just like that. You can only see them through the tattvas. You can only see them through the scriptures, and all these square boxes, right, are the scriptures, are the tattvas. You can only see the Lord through them. At that moment, I do not know what happened. My body started vibrating and I felt all kinds of sensations. And at that moment, I thought I understood what Chidambara Rahasyam is all about. So when the curtain was open, right, I saw that the Lord is not seen in any form. He is actually all space as well. And space is formless, so is the Lord. So looking at the dark space behind the curtain, right, I could actually see the Lord in my mind as space, as consciousness, pervading that whole dark area. So at that moment, right, I actually closed my eyes, you know, and to me, I could really, really visualize and feel that I can see the Lord without seeing him in that black area as space. So at that moment, I thought I understood, or maybe had a little bit of realization of what Chidambara Rahasyam is all about. I hope I explained something. It's very difficult to articulate it now, but I hope I made some sense. So maybe one day when you are at this temple, you could visit this place as well. Now we've come to the end of the tour of Chidambaram. So let's say a quick goodbye to Lord Nataraja. Om Namah Shivaya, and head to our next destination. I'm going quite fast. Please pardon me. So where's our next destination? Is one of the most mysterious temples in all of India. And it is none other than Sri Jagannath Temple in Puri. We have just arrived at this temple, and I've never been here before, and I hope to go here one day. So today I'm going to explore this temple together with you. Right, before we enter the temple, let me give you some very basic, some interesting facts about the temple. Puri is actually located in the state of Odisha, or Orissa as it was formerly known. Odisha itself is supposed to be a very, very sacred land. Okay? It has a name called Utkala in the scriptures, and it is supposed to be the most holiest place on this planet. Okay, you heard me right, holiest place on the planet. And Odisha is actually divided into 4 kshetras. Interestingly named after the 4 weapons of Lord Vishnu. So Puri is named after the conch, Shankha, and Bhubaneswar is named after the chakra, Jaipura is the Gada Kshetra, and finally Konark is the Padma Kshetra. Another interesting fact about this place, right, is that Puri actually resembles a right-oriented conch shell, which is why it is called a Shankha Kshetra. Right, so this whole kshetra covers about 10 miles, of which 40% of it is actually underwater. Okay, only the rest of it is outside of it, and this is what is called as Shankha Kshetra. More interesting details. As I said, this kshetra is really, really huge, and Jagannath, together with his brother and sister, are the presiding deity here, and they sit right at the center of this kshetra. Okay, the whole Shankha Kshetra, right, according to legend, is guarded by the 8 Ashtashivas, the 8 Mahashaktis, and the 8 Mahavirs, the 8 forms of Lord Hanuman. So this is like a very heavily fortified place, and there are innumerable holy sites within this Shankha Kshetra. As I said, about 115 temples and ponds and tirthas. The 4 ashramas of the great rishis is also here of Angiras, Pandu, Markandeya, Bhrigu. The ashrams are also here. So please don't ask me where is the hermit crab in all of this. Sorry for all my funny jokes. I hope I don't get struck by lightning, you know. But seriously, moving on, this is really the epitome of a very, very amazing location, and I'm quite excited to share more details with you guys. So let's move on. Right, so Jagannath, right, is actually mentioned in several Puranas, Brahma Purana, Narada Purana, but he's extensively talked about in Skanda Purana. So there are many, many legends associated with him, but in every of those legends, right, he's actually known as Purushottama, and in particular reference to the Purusha that is seen in Purusha Suktam of the Rig Veda. So only in Puri is Vishnu worshipped as Purushottama. And nearly in all the legends, there is this king called Indradyumna, who actually saw a blue-colored wooden log floating along the waters with the marks of Lord Vishnu, and he took it and then he created all those dolis with it. So the current temple was actually built by the Ganga dynasty king Anantavarman in the 12th century. And during his reign, right, the temple was actually visited by great people, Ramanujacharya, Adi Shankara, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka. All of them came and established their mutts over there. But Puri fell into political turmoil soon after. They had lots of issues. You know, it was nearly burned down as well. But the temple survived and finally came under the rule of the Marathas and British, which was an uneventful period. And finally, the temple administration was formed in 1952. everybody thinks it's the 4 shrines in the Himalayas, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Gangotri, and Yamunotri. No, they are not the Chardham. They are the Choti Chardham. The real Chardham is this. It's Badrinath in the north. It's Rameshwaram in the south, Puri in the east, and Dwarkesh in the west. This is the real Chardham as announced by Shankaracharya. So Shankaracharya has a very, very close association with Puri. He established his Govardhan Mutt right here, and he made his senior most disciple Padmapada as the head pontiff of this mutt and declared the Rig Veda mantra Prajnanam Brahma to be propagated as the truth. Okay, so this is fresh information, right? This is Puri is one of the most is the original Chardham site. So again, my drone is at work. This is the aerial view of Sri Jagannath Temple. You can see the main temple, the whole compound, and the whole city is actually the Shankarshetra. Actually, this is a no-fly zone, but you know, my drone can hit about anyway. Okay, so as we enter the eastern gate, right, we come across on the right Lord Patita Pavana. Okay, in local Odisha language, Patita means sinner and Pavana means purifier. So Patita Pavana basically means someone who can purify all our sins. This shrine, right, can actually be seen from outside the eastern gate. So people who cannot go into the temple can actually stand outside and have his darshan. It's actually formerly the untouchables, right, who were not allowed to go to the temple, used to come outside and then offer their prayers to Lord Patita Pavana. And it is said, right, for those who cannot enter the temple for any inadvertent religious reasons, can just stand outside and worship Patita Pavana, and it's equal to worshipping Lord Jagannath by going inside. So let's take a moment to pray to Lord Patita Pavana to absolve us of all our sins as we go into the temple and explore more. As I said, this place has got so many shrines and we don't really have the time, we're tight for time. So I'm just going to talk to you about Sri Vimala Devi Temple, which is one of the more important temples. This is actually one of the 108 Shakti Peeths. Devi's navel actually fell in this spot, and we're actually lucky to be at this spot because this is very, very famous for tantrics. You know, the tantric devotees actually feel that she is much more powerful than Jagannath himself. So it's actually a tradition also that before going to Jagannath, all devotees will pass through this temple, say their prayers to Devi before going in to see Lord Jagannath. And even the food, right, that is offered to Lord Jagannath is not considered Mahaprasad unless she blesses it. So it's a very, very important lady of the house. So let's say our pranams again, Om Shakti, and let's move on. As I said, there are innumerable shrines, 150 temples, so to speak. I cannot get all of them, but I've tried to get all of them into one picture. So we have different deities here. You can see Kali, you can see Surya, Narasimha, you can see Ganesha, Saraswati, Hanuman. Everyone is right here. So these are some of the deities that we can actually see within the shrine itself. Now, these are the 3 actual deities of Jagannath. Okay, these are the actual figures of Balabhadra, Subhadra, and Jagannath. So they're all made of wood taken from the neem tree. The height is about 2.5 to 3 meters. So the colors, right, of Balabhadra is white. Balabhadra is white. Subhadra is actually yellow, and Lord Jagannath is dark in color. And these 3 images have different people have attributed different meanings to all of these 3 idols. You know, some say one is Jiva, Maya, and Brahman. One says it's Jnana, Karma, Bhakti, etc., etc. But there is something very, very interesting about this temple, which I'm not sure if any of you know. These idols actually get replaced every 12 to 19 years at a festival called Brahma Parivartan. Okay, it is the most important festival of this temple. What they actually do is they actually transfer the soul of Lord Jagannath to another idol. It is said, right, that Lord Krishna's heart is actually inside Lord Jagannath, or a blue colored jewel of some sort is actually inside the idol. And this emanates lots of radiation that actually burns through the wood. So in like 12 years' time, this wood body needs to get replaced. So what happens is this is like a highly secret ceremony. What happens is they shut off all the electricity, they take out all the they remove all the CCTV cameras, they off all the lights of the temple, they shut down the neighboring neighborhoods' electricity as well. And even the priests, their eyes are covered as they remove the heart of Krishna and place it into the new wooden enclosure. So this is remarkable. It is said, right, there's actually something mysterious. This whole object is very, very mysterious. And if you expose it to light, right, it starts vibrating very, very intensely. So that's the reason they shut down all the lights. So this is one of the great mysteries of the temple. And I find this very, very fascinating. Now, let's talk a little bit about Lord Jagannath himself. Lord Jagannath is known as the Lord of the universe, right? The one who is omnipotent, omniscient, Paramatma. So he was originally known as Purushottama, as I told you earlier. So the whole philosophy of Jagannath, right, is of the famous saying, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahudha Vadanti. Truth is one, but it is called by different names. And I really love this. The Skanda Purana in the section Purushottama Kshetra Mahatmaya talks about the history of Lord Jagannath quite extensively. So if you have time and if you want to know, you can always refer to that. And we have all heard of avatars coming through time and helping us, but Jagannath, Lord Jagannath, is not an avatar. He's an avatari. To devotees, he is someone who has been there since time immemorial, witnessing everything that's happening in his wooden form. So Lord Jagannath is perhaps the only deity who represents different things to different people. And this is what I find amazing about Lord Jagannath. To Krishna worshippers, Jagannath, Krishna is Lord Jagannath, Balabhadra is Balarama, and Subhadra is Subhadra. For Rama worshippers, Balabhadra is Lakshmana, Subhadra is Sita, and Rama is Lord Jagannath. For Shaiva devotees, Balabhadra is Shesha, Subhadra is Shakti, and Jagannath is Lord Shiva. And for Shakta worshippers, the Tantrics, Jagannath is Mahabhairava, Balabhadra is Rudra, and Subhadra is actually Goddess Durga. So great is his glory that anyone and everyone is Lord Jagannath. So he's indeed the universal God. So when I was doing some research about him and doing my notes and all that, I actually felt a great love and a great humility come upon me, which I felt very, very good. And without further ado, let us seek Lord Jagannath's blessings here. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the Aarti. I sure did. I hope all of us have the blessings, get the blessings of Jagannath. So we've completed Puri Jagannath. There are a lot more mysteries about Jagannath. Maybe we can share it another time. So let's move on to our next destination. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Pilot Premnath, and we're actually cruising at 50,000 feet. And you can actually see Nepal right below you. And to your right is actually Tibet, and ahead of you, if you can actually make out, is Mount Kailash. And those two blue things, right, they are actually not ink. It's actually Lake Rakshastal and Lake Mansarovar. And all those white things that you can actually see, right, is actually not Kue Mahmud. I know Deepavali is just over and all of us are still having thoughts of cookies, but it's actually the mighty Himalayas. So where are we going right now? We are actually heading to Uttarakhand. And we are heading to the Kedarnath temple. So we are coming to nearly to the end of the tour. Just hang on there and let's cover Kedarnath. So Uttarakhand is actually one of my most favorite destinations. I've been there so many times and I love that place. Uttarakhand is actually called Te Bhumi because there's so many shrines dedicated to different gods, denoting myths of Mahabharata, etc., etc. There's so many things I wanted to share about temples in Uttarakhand, but again, we are limited by time. So I wanted to I'm going to take you straight to Kedarnath. So as we approach Kedarnath, I just wanted to give you some information. There are different ways to reach Kedarnath. In recent times, you can actually fly via helicopter, but I'm not going to use that method. We're actually going to walk up, or we're going to take the land route. And actually the map says that you can actually start at Gaurikund and reach Kedarnath in about 4 hours. I think that's not really correct. When I was there, it took me, I think when I was there, the distance was about 14 kilometers or something, but after the floods, right, the kilometers has increased to about 23 kilometers right now. So it's going to take longer for people to walk right now. So when I did it in about 5 hours walking up. I think now it's going to take more than 6 hours to climb up to Kedarnath. So now we've entered the gates of Kedarnath. We're very quickly going to go to Gaurikund, it's tradition to go and pray to Gauri, have a dip in the pond. This place is again very mythical. This place is where Goddess Parvati is said to have meditated upon Lord Shiva, and this place is also the place which is associated with Ganesha and his elephant head. So without further ado, let's get going. So as I said, there are 4 different ways you can actually get up to Kedarnath. You can either put one in your bucket list, meaning you can get carried up the mountain on a bucket that you can, as you can see, or you can take a pony. So if someone asks you, have you Kedarnath pony? Pony, you can actually say that. And or if you ever had a dream of being carried on a palanquin like a princess, then you can actually get 4 people to carry you on a palanquin and run up the mountain. But my favorite method is the Nataraja method, which is just walking up. So let's walk up very quickly. Here, actually, you can see the pilgrims sneaking up on the mountains. For those of you who need tips to climb mountains, the whole idea is not to walk fast or walk slow. It's just to maintain a constant, comfortable pace, but make it consistent. So this is how you walk up Kedarnath. And as we walk up, right, Kedarnath is in a valley of great beauty. Okay, as we walk, you will see beautiful valleys, you'll see waterfalls all along the way. So this is just some of the sights that you will see. And we're actually inside Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary. The sanctuary is reputed to be the world's richest reserve, and it is home to the snow leopard. So if you're lucky, you can actually see the snow leopard, but here we have 2 little birds and the Himalayan tahr staring back right at us. And one of the beauties of actually walking up Kedarnath, right, is to see images like this. You'll see a helicopter actually below you. So for those people who actually who chose to go up Kedarnath by helicopter, they actually miss out on a lot on the journey of climbing up, looking at nature, and the whole self-reflection. The most important thing is when they miss out, I feel, they miss out on the whole self-reflection thingy, which happens only when you actually take a very tough route to get to a temple. I'll talk about this slightly soon. And now we are finally nearing our goal. You can actually see a little bit of Kedar Peak covered among clouds. Kedarnath is on the clouds over there. So I love this picture. It's so beautiful. This is how it will be as you approach the temple, of Kedarnath. There in the near distance, about 100 meters away, you can actually see the temple right in front, and behind you, right, is a mighty Kedar Peak. The peak is about 22,000 feet. I can still remember coming and walking through here. On your left and right, there are shops, motels, hotels, etc. I saw my family, they took the pony and all that, they were waiting for me. So I can still remember this amazing experience of climbing up to Kedarnath. So we've reached our destination, everyone. As you can see, Kedarnath is not a very, very big temple, but it is very, very ancient. It is situated at a height about 3,500 meters or so. And the origins of this temple is really unknown. But the legend says, right, after the Kurukshetra war, the Pandavas wanted to seek forgiveness from Lord Shiva. So they were searching for him in the Himalayas, and Lord Shiva knew about this and he didn't want to meet them. So he wanted to run away, but then he turned into a bull and dived straight into the earth. And then Bhima caught hold of him, and then they had his darshan and all of that. That's the legend. So when he became a bull and then he dived into the earth, it is said that his 5 different parts came out at 5 different areas within the mountains. And the rump is the one which is at Kedarnath. And Kedarnath is actually one of the 12 Jyotirlingas as well. Now, as we enter the temple, we can see Nandi right up front. And this on your left is Kedarnatha, the presiding deity of Kedarnath in the form of lingam. It's actually a very irregular shaped triangular lingam. This is a Jyotirlingam. As you can see, it's shaped like a rump of a bull. So you can say your prayers. This is the actual image of Lord Kedarnath. And I wanted to very quickly tell you about my experience when I was here as well. But so as I was telling you, right, as I was walking up the track all alone, my family went up ahead because they couldn't really walk. I was actually walking up. What I was doing, I was chanting, I was reflecting on my life. I was thinking about the Lord. I was thinking, what am I? How is the Lord going to be? Looking at nature, etc., etc. I was just being with myself throughout the journey. And when I came into this temple and I saw Lord Shiva, that is when it struck me what a real pilgrimage is all about. A pilgrimage is not really just about just entering a temple and saying hello or vanakkam to the murti, but it is a whole journey, that the whole self-reflection and whatever that takes place to get you from destination A to the main Sannidhi. And I thought that lesson has really stuck with me all the way till now. So please say your namaskarams again to Lord Kedarnath as we move on very quickly. It is said, right, Shiva Purana basically says that any devotee, right, who dies or gives up his life while trying to reach Kedarnath is absolved of all his sins. My family and I, we actually reached Kedarnath and we spent the night in the hotel, in the comfort of the hotel in June, and it was freezing cold even in June. So when I stepped out into the hallway of the temple, I saw people just snaking around and just cramping up and sleeping out in the cold. These people were poor; they couldn't afford accommodation, you know. So at that moment, I understood what real faith is all about. To them, it doesn't matter what test the God puts in front. All it matters is they want to see the Lord and they feel the Lord is protecting them and nothing can happen. I guess that is what real bhakti really, really is. And at that moment, on that day, I understood what really having faith in God really is. It is not about saying, I trust God, but when it comes to a test and then you give up, it's about really believing God is all around you. And you look at the picture at night on a clear day, the temple really looks like that. Millions and millions of stars. You can actually see the Milky Way with your naked eyes. Brilliant. And just behind the temple is the shrine of Adi Shankaracharya. Of course, everyone knows he's the one who revived Kedarnath. Not only Kedarnath, but the entire Sanatana Dharma. We wouldn't be here watching all of this and having a festival if not for Sri Adi Shankaracharya, in my opinion. So legend says, right, he actually disappeared somewhere around Kedarnath after completing his mission at the age of 30 plus. So this is a picture of his samadhi before the floods. Unfortunately, during the floods, his samadhi was washed away. The whole lingam, the Shankara statue, the Hanuman statue, the Spatika lingam, everything got washed away, unfortunately. And they are currently in the process of actually building a new shrine underground just behind the temple for Adi Shankaracharya. But does it really matter? So I was thinking, does it really matter to me? Am I sad that the shrine got washed away? I don't think so, because if you know, Shankara has always said, where can he go? He is everywhere. You know, what got washed away was just objects. So I'm cool with that. So we are coming to the end of the presentation, and just for a moment, before we head back, I thought it's a good idea. We can all walk around the temple and have a very, very short darshan.
Om Saurashtra Deshe Vishadetiramye Jyotirmayam Chandrakalavatantsham Bhakti Pradana Yakripavatirnam Tam Somanatham Sharanam Prapadye Tam Somanatham शरणं प्रपद्ये श्रीशैलशृङ्गे विबुधातिसङ्गे तुलाद्रितुङ्गे पिमुदा वसन्तम् तमर्जुनं मल्लिकपूर्वमेकम् नमामि संसारसमुद्रसेतुम् नमामि संसारसमुद्रसेतुम् अवन्तिकायां विहितावतारम् मुक्तिप्रदानाय च सज्जनानाम् अकालमृत्युः परिरक्षणार्थं वन्दे महाकालमहासुरेशं वन्दे महाकालमहासुरेशं कावेरिकानर्मदयोपवित्रे समागमे जनतारणाय सदैव मान्धा त्रिपुरे वसन्तम् ओङ्कारमीशं शिवमेकमीडे ओङ्कारमीशं शिवमेकमीडे पूर्वोत्तरे प्रज्वलिकाभिधाने सदा वसन्तं गिरिजासमेतं सद्भक्तिमुक्ति प्रदमीशमेकम् सुरासुराराधितपादपद्मम् श्रीवैद्यनाथं तमहं नमामि श्रीवैद्यनाथं तमहं नमामि यामे सदङ्गे नगरे.
I hope you enjoyed that trip. Now we are back home at Changi, so I hope you enjoyed the trip. So since we had a trip back to India, you unfortunately some of you will need to go through a swab test. But I wanted to add one more thing. This is a picture of the Hindu Center for those of you who are in the US and UK, etc. The Hindu Center of Singapore is not a huge place. There are no big shrines in here. We don't, and the volunteers, there have been volunteers through time, volunteers come and go. But to me, Hindu Center is also a great temple. It's a great temple of jnana. And I owe so much to the Hindu Center, the knowledge that I have and the changes that has made a difference to who I am today. I really feel indebted to Hindu Center. And that's the very reason why I put in so much effort, even to this day, to do what I can to serve the Hindu Temple, Hindu Center of Singapore. So on behalf of all the volunteers of Hindu Center, I thank you. And I think all of us, all my fellow volunteers would basically say, I think the Hindu Center is a temple in itself as well, the temple of knowledge. I think with that, I will share some credits of the images, lots of images that have taken to various places. So that's it. Thank you very much and namaste. And I hope you enjoyed the tour. I will stop sharing my screen right now. Dr. Prasad, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. What a wonderful tour, and what a wonderful tour guide that you have been, taking us through all the important places of Hinduism. Of course, there will always be people who have their favorite temple or place. and they'll say, why didn't you include that, or why didn't you include that? But there are so many thousands of places to choose from, and I think that you managed to bring in a fairly good representative choice of the holy places. And I'm very glad that you ended up with Kedarnath, with one of the Chardham. So it's a great tour, and it's really amazing. I was quite speechless with all your drone images, your walk-arounds, your 3D images, 360-degree images, and it was like being there. And not only was it just a physical pilgrimage, you gave so much information about each one of those places, the murtis, and your own personal experiences, your spiritual experiences that you went through. So we are really, really indebted to you. Thank you so much, very much indeed, for the trouble that you have taken to put this together. I think this is going to be one of the best presentations of a virtual tour. And I think all the audience should take out their gratuity and get ready, open their wallets, because we are going to charge them for the tour, not only the airfare. By the way, I noticed one thing, that because of the COVID-19 restrictions, we were able to move very freely without many crowds. So, you know, what a wonderful time to go on a virtual tour as well. So thank you, Sarah, for your great preparation. I just want to say, let me do a bit of slide share myself. And here's where I would like to ask people to take out their wallets and their credit cards. Because as you all know, this Festival of Hinduism is organized by the Hindu Center. The Hindu Center is a charity that was formed in 1978 to promote greater awareness of Hinduism, as well as to raise the knowledge of our Vedic scriptures and our Vedic heritage and practices. And as you can see that we have put in a lot of hard work to get to where we are. The center's activities are based on the 3 pillars of Jnana, Bhakti, and Seva. And you can see that on the screen, all the various activities that we carry out at the Hindu Center. For example, in 2019, Hindu Center delivered over 25,000 beneficiary hours in prisons, in old age homes, talks on Vedanta, classes for the young and the not so young, Vedic yoga sessions, and so on. So your support will allow us to deliver even more in the coming years. And of course, you can also volunteer your own time and expertise when we have various projects. And you can make your donation at hinducenter.org.sg/donations, or through the QR code that is shown here, whether it's a one-time donation or regular donations, also welcome. So please support us generously. If you want to be informed of our activities, then sign up for the What's Up at Hindu Center broadcasting group. It's a broadcast group, so your numbers will not be seen and you will not be able to send, or anybody else will not be able to send you messages. And you will receive timely notices of different events that are taking place. And you can send a message to enroll. You can send a message to the number that's listed there and give your name and email ID and just put join. I just want to round up to say that thank you for your support so far for all the festival events. Coming up tomorrow, we have a presentation on Vastu Shastra by Mr. H.D. Gupta at 4:30 p.m. And of course, if you want to improve the Vastu of your house, this is a must attend event so that you can realize what are the things that you might want to do in the layout of your own residence. At 7 p.m., we have insights and significance of Hindu rituals. And of course, many people and many young people question our rituals because we do tend to do rituals without questioning. So to explain the significance and the value of the rituals, and I must say that it is from before birth all the way to after death. So all the milestone events of your whole life will be covered in this presentation. So it's very, very important for you and your family to attend this talk at 7 p.m. So with that, I'm going to close here and we move on to the closing prayer. So I want to say a final thank you to our presenter, S. Saravanan. Thank you so much, Sarah. So we move on to the closing prayers for this evening.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः